Hello, today we're going to talk about how to correctly repair a tire. So we've got a camera mounted inside of a tire here. This is a screw that has been run through the tire, so obviously we need to patch that. So the first thing we're going to look for is it in a repairable area of the tire? And basically what you want to think about is we're about 1/2 inch from the sidewall into the tread to the middle, and then obviously from the middle to 1/2 inch to the other side where the bead is. That is our repairable segment. So I'm going to raise the camera up here and I'll kind of show you. We've sliced this tire in half to show you where is the repairable area, and it's from about right here to about right here. You can see these larger bead wires. We cannot fix anything in this location or down the sidewall. So we're going to put this back on our screw down here, and then we're going to go ahead and start our repair process. So the first thing we need to do obviously is remove whatever's stuck in the tire, and so I'm going to do that with this screwdriver. And this screw did go straight in. If it goes in at an angle, that is going to change slightly our repair process. So we're only allowed about a 45-degree angle of penetration. If it's more than that, then we need to do a different type of repair than what you're going to see here today. So there's the screw that was stuck in our tire. First step we're going to do is we need to ream that hole out, and we're going to do that with a carbide cutter on a Milwaukee. This tool is specially made for tire repair. You can see there's our carbide cutter, and then that is grinder mode. So this tool was basically made by Milwaukee to help us do this. You want to use a slow speed tool. High speed is going to melt the tire, and we definitely do not want to do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to ream this hole out, and I'm going to do that, and then I'll tell you why we are doing that. And we're going to hit that from both sides. So what we want is a really nice round hole. Think about when you run a screw into a piece of wood, the wood cracks. If you pre-drill it, it does not, and that's because those grains in there are disrupted by your screw going in. The tire is no different. So on the inside of this we have multi-layers of steel belts, fiber belts, and also all sorts of compounds. And when that screw penetrates through the tire, it disrupts the natural alignment of those cords or those plies. So when we cut it off with a carbide cutter, that allows those filaments or those steel cords to realign, so they're not bound up, they're not jagged, anything like that. The other reason we have drilled a hole is we're actually going to fill that with a plug and a patch assembly. So if you think about, most shops now are just patching tires, like you see one up here. This is a un-DOT approved repair method. That's just a patch on the inner liner. We can't just fix the inner liner. You guys know these are called steel belted radials, and they're called that because the cords are steel. What happens to steel when it gets wet? I think we all know what happens. It rusts. Do we want a hole in our tire when it rains always having water in it? Of course we don't, because that's going to rust out the cords. That tire is going to blow out. So after we carbide cutter that hole, we're going to fill that wound with a little bit of cement and a plug, and then that plug will wear off at the same rate as the tread, and it will keep that hole filled in basically, so we don't get any moisture in the tire at all or in that repaired area. So the first thing we're going to use is a metal scraper and repair solvent. This happens to be from a company called Patch Rubber Company. That is available through Myers Tire Supply, is where we buy it from here in Iowa. And so I want to put a little bit of that repair sealer on there, and I'm going to scrape it. And you can hear on the video probably I'm scraping fairly hard. And I want you to look at what I scraped off. There is a lot of rubber material that I just scraped off with my scraper. Now what really is that? Because it's not part of the tire. Every tire, when it's manufactured, is stuck on a mold. You can see the imprints of the mold inside this tire. This is a rubber release agent that has to be injected into that mold to get the rubber off. When rubber's hot, it's very sticky. If we grind where we're putting our patch before scraping it, we leave this stuff in here, it obviously makes our patch want to fall off. So we've got to get that very well cleaned off. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take our low speed grinder here. We're going to pull this collet up, take the carbide cutter out, and we are going to install a low speed grinding stone, and then I'm going to switch the mode from carbide cutter to grinder, and we're going to run a little bit slower here. So I am going to mark where this patch is going, and then we're going to go ahead and grind out our repair area. So I'm going to lay the patch right here, and I'm obviously laying it upside down right over the top of the hole. And I'm going to draw a little target where I need to grind, because we don't want to make the grinder spot too big. So we're going to grind within that crosshair there. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more down there. I think that should have it. I'm going to do a little more. Fantastic. Okay, so we just made a mess inside of that. Obviously, we don't want to stick a patch and glue onto that dirty area there. So we are going to put some rubber cleaner on it again, and we're going to scrape it again before we lay any sort of glue down. And you can see here, obviously that is all of that rubber dust that I just scraped off. We don't want that in there when we're trying to patch that tire. So next what we're going to do is we're going to spread a little bit of glue on there, and we're going to let that dry for a little while. So we're taking our fast dry cement. Some people used to light cement on fire when they were fixing tires. That was a vulcanizing method for the cement. We do not do that anymore, so please don't light any modern cement on fire. It will actually reduce its holding ability. So we're just going to spread that on there kind of thin. We're going to let that set up for a little while. While that's drying, obviously we got to get rid of all of this rubber dust. We do not want that circulating in our tire. So we're going to suck that out with a vacuum cleaner. We've got that all cleaned up. You can see we're just a little bit wet over here. The rest of that seems to be drying pretty well. So I'm sticking my finger in it just on the outside where my patch is not going to go. If you noticed, I glued a larger area than where the patch is, and I did that on purpose because I don't want to stick my finger in where the glue is going. So now we're going to go ahead and put our pilot wire patch plug assembly in. This is what it looks like, so you can see that there is a pilot wire. That's to pull it through the hole. And then we have our plug built on. This is a cover over the glue part. So rubber cement used to just hold an old patch on like that. This is a two-part, I don't want to say two-part epoxy because it's not really that, but let's think of it as a two-part cement. And so this is one part. That is the other, and when those two bond together correctly, there is no way this patch can come off. You actually have to grind them off with that grinder if you patch it incorrectly. So we are going to go ahead and prep this patch for installation, and we're going to do that by putting a little bit of cement on the end of the pilot wire, and that's basically to lubricate that when it goes through the hole and to help seal it up in the wound. So we're going to set that in there just like that. Once it's in place, I'm going to go ahead and pull this red backer off, again without touching that glue. So there we go, the patch is hanging in there. I'm going to grab a pair of pliers and pull this through. And I don't want to dimple the patch, so we're just going to pull it down flush. So don't pull on it too hard because we're going to deform the tire. And now we're going to use something called a stitcher, and this is basically a little toothed wheel that runs on a bearing, and we're just going to vigorously start in the middle here, and we're going to push this patch down nice and uniformly on the tire. And again, I can't stress to you enough that I am pushing pretty hard on this because this is someone rolling down the road. Might be a family member. We want to make sure they're safe. And so we want to make sure we get that patch stuck down extremely well. Now what I'm doing is dragging this tool across it because I'm going to take this plastic cover off. And some of these patches we've noticed over the years, this plastic cover is extremely difficult to get off. The company says you can leave it on. I don't know. I don't like it. It makes it look bad. So this one may end up having to stay on there. We'll see if I can get it off of here. You can see already though how hard I'm dragging on that patch, and it has not moved at all. So now I've got this cover off. You think, okay, good, we're done. No, we're not done yet. We have to cover that up. So we cover that up with something called repair sealer. Repair sealer is put inside of our repair to help keep contaminants from getting to our patch. So let's say you go to the gas station because your tire's a little bit low, whatever. I think gas stations are fairly well known for having water in their air compressors, and obviously water is going to disrupt how this patch stays on the tire. So what we're going to do is take repair sealer. I'm going to open it up here, and you're going to see this looks like liquid rubber, and that's because that's pretty much what it is. And we're going to cover that whole repair up just like that. Now we are done patching this tire, with the exception of cutting off the pilot wire. So what we have to do on the pilot wire is use a special knife. This actually comes with the patch kits. You can see this knife is very thin. You're also going to notice this knife is very flexible. And so what we want to do is we're going to go on the other side of this tire, and we're going to cut that stem off perfectly even with the tread. We want to do it perfectly even because we want that plug to wear at the exact same rate as the tire. If you pull on it and cut it, you're going to leave a little dimple. If you cut it too high, then every time this section of the tire hits the road, it tries to push the patch off because we have some sticking up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. And there's what we have left. So that is thrown away. And now at this point, we would go ahead and remount this tire, rebalance it, spray it down with some soapy water, make sure our repair was successful. And if it is, then congratulations. Now you are done and you've successfully repaired a tire the legal way. Anything other than this is not legal. So please make sure you do it this way. Thank you.